largest distributors in America, in Shakley. In fact, today Shakley does, about $1 billion worth of business. I would say that about 2/3 or 1/2 maybe of that volume in the United States is down my grandmother's line somewhere. Okay, she was one of the pioneers. So anyway, when my father decided to join ForeverLiving, we thought he had gone nuts. We thought he was loco, okay? Because I felt that we needed to be loyal to this company that we had become so big in. But he says, I just have a feeling about this company. So we had our Shakley office. And people had to come into our office to buy product. You know, we had to supply our own downline distributors. It's not like Forever where everybody orders direct. So we had an inventory and people came in to buy product. Well, this is the first experience, and I'll keep it short. Mr. and Mrs. Bird walked through the door. Okay, Mrs. Bird's about that tall. Mr. Bird is about that tall. Mr. Bird worked at a copper refinery in Salt Lake City, Utah. Big guy. He'd worked there for almost 25 years. Copper, where they refine copper. And so they were filling out their order form to buy their product, and my father leans over the counter. Here's the counter, and I'm down at the end of the counter, just sitting here watching. My father leans over the counter and she asks Mrs. Bird, have you ever heard of aloe vera? And she says, why no, I don't think so. Who is she? Okay? And he says, no, it's not a person. It's a plant. Looks like a cactus. And she says, oh, do you mean the burn plant? And he says, yeah, it's called the burn plant. My father didn't know anything about that. He just joined a day ago. And she said, his next question to her was, what do you know about it? And she says, oh, I have one in my kitchen. And when I burn myself when I'm cooking, I just break off a leaf and squeeze it onto the burn, and it takes the pain away, and there's no blister. And then he asks the third question. Okay, first question, have you ever heard of aloe vera? Second question, what do you know about it? Third question, did you know you can drink it? And she says, drink it? Who would want to drink a cactus? And then she says, what do you drink it for? What's it supposed to do? And he says, I have no idea. Somebody just dropped off these products and showed them to me, and I think they look interesting. He says, let's have a taste. Okay, now my father walks over past me to the water machine, and he gets 3 little cups. And he comes down and he takes this bottle. It wasn't the bottle you see today. It was a round, just an ugly round bottle. Okay. And with a label that had been slapped on it, literally by hand, like that. Okay, so he shakes it. He pours a little bit into these 3 little cups, and he hands one to Mrs. Bird, one to Mr. Bird, and he keeps one. And he says, "Here's to your health." Now I have to stop the story right here and tell you that up to this point, my father had never tasted this aloe vera juice. This was his first taste. So they all go like this. And I'm down here, remember, I'm down here looking in this direction, and I can see the side of his face. And I knew there was trouble when I saw him go, and Mrs. Bird goes, and Mr. Bird stands there. I thought he hadn't even swallowed it, you know, I just thought it was there, okay? So my dad says, do you need some water? And Mrs. Bird said, yes, please. So he runs back over to the water machine and he gets 3 little cups of water and he brings them back, and Mrs. Bird says, well, there's no aftertaste. She says, I guess that's not so bad. It's not as bad as cod liver oil. And so she says, what's it supposed to do? And my father said, well, I really don't know, but I've heard that it's very good for you to drink. The person that sponsored me into this company brought some by, and he's letting me test it. Okay, so the conversation goes on for about 30 seconds. Pretty soon, Mr. Bird says, this is the first thing he said now after he drank the juice. He says, the burning's gone. And Mrs. Bird said, "What did you say?" I said, "The burning's gone." And my father says, "What's this about burning?" Mrs. Bird, "Well, my husband has worked at Kennecott Copper for 25 years, and breathing the fumes created by the copper refining process, he's developed a hiatal hernia. And for years he's been suffering with this burning sensation. He has to take Tums or Rolaids or some kind of antacid constantly to try and keep that pain down." Then Mr. Bird says, "How much is that stuff?" And my dad says, "Well, it's $12.95 a quart." That's what it was 36 years ago. He says, "I'll take a case." My dad says, "I don't have a case. I only have these 6 bottles. I'll take them all." "Well, this is all I've got. I'll take them all." So they wrote a check out, handed it to my dad, and they walked out with 6 bottles of aloe vera gel. After they left, my father turned to me and he says, "You mark my words, this company is going to be a winner." Now, my father was the first person ever sponsored into Forever Living products. Very first one. Okay? And he made that prediction. He said, "Did you notice I didn't have to sell the product? All I had to do was let them try it." And in the first year of business, $2 million worth of that product was sold. We didn't have any other products, just the juice. Then shortly after, we had jelly and lotion. Okay. Second year, they sold $2 million in the single month at the end of the second year. So it went 2 million, the second year, 8 million, 16 million, 30 million, 72 million, 84 million, 96 million, 100 million, and just kept going up ever since. And I've watched this company grow for 36 years. Now we're doing billions in 158 countries around the world. It's just amazing what's happened, all because of that aloe vera. Well, that was my very first experience with aloe. Went to a meeting about this size, about 40 people at the meeting. I was sitting on the back row,